The year is 2028, and for years, multinational corporation Omnicorp has supplied the military with highly advanced drones that maintain global security by employing scanners that determine whether someone is threatening or not on the spot. Novik, a TV host, wants these robots to replace cops in American cities as well, but others are opposed, are terrified of machines, and the government is opposed to having an effective law enforcement field to demonstrate his case. Novik invited a military leader to his show to explain the details. Every operation is explained in detail. He's also dispatched a reporter to the Middle East to document the robot's progress. Live television. The reporter wanders about town filming how the robots don't harm anyone who isn't a robot. A threat, calling it a triumph for safety protocols. However, the residents are clearly dissatisfied with the fact that their home has been taken over by robots. So a squad of rebels sneaks around with heavy weaponry and attacks the robots head-on. Attack. Soon after, a fierce conflict breaks out in the streets, with the robots blowing up buildings on the ground, but also airborne drones that fire whenever they see an attacker. Many of these insurgents also jump from rooftops onto the robots, bringing them down. As the entire region continues to erupt, the robots come upon a terrified young boy holding a knife in an attempt to protect himself. However, the scanner considers a knife to be a threat, and the robot quickly murders the youngster. Novik seems unfazed, telling his viewers that what the robot did was a good thing and part of keeping the city safe. Meanwhile, Detective Alex visits his supervisor at the police station, who demands an explanation for the incident that his nasty coworkers accuse him of. Alex tells her everything. The night before, Alex and his closest friend met with some crooks for an undercover operation. They duped a dealer into disclosing illegal firearms and arrested him right away. However, when Alex returned to the evidence locker later, the weapons they had taken were missing, and no one had signed the papers, implying that a dirty cop had to take them out. Following that, Alex and his colleague went undercover again and met with the gang leader at a restaurant. But their meeting was cut short when the leader received a call informing him that Alex was a cop. The leader instantly exited the building and dispatched his men to assassinate the cops, sparking a gunfight all over the place. The two cops fired back fast, but they were clearly outnumbered, so when they saw an opening, they tried to flee through the back alley. Alex made it outside without incident, but his best friend was shot in the process. Alex's employer chastises him for going out without assistance and says she'll manage the search for the filthy cop. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Omnicorp CEO Sellers tries to persuade the government that robot cops are a good idea, but senators again reject him. After that, Sellers meets with his staff at Omnicorp's headquarters to brainstorm ways to get the public to accept robots on the streets. Because the senators continually bringing up the fact that robots cannot feel, he concludes that they must fuse an actual human with a machine. Meanwhile, at a specialized clinic, Dr. Norton is assisting his most recent patient in adjusting to his new hands. Norton specializes in robotic prostheses that are controlled by your emotions. Thus, the patient must learn to focus on his mechanical hands in order to play the guitar. Sellers interrupts the exercise by speaking with Norton privately and convincing him to create a human-machine hybrid. Norton meets with Sellers' team to examine their choices, but every former cop has been wounded for too long and is now too mentally damaged to return to work, so they must hunt for a newer case. Alex's nasty employees expose themselves to be dirty officers in another section of town, and they alert the gang boss that the police department is hunting him. They'll have to deal with Alex in order to end this probe. A criminal later places a bomb under Alex's car as he is visiting his best friend in the hospital. Alex returns home in the evening to spend time with his son David and his wife Clara. When they're about to get crowded, Alex hears his car's alarm go off and runs outside to check. As he gets closer to the vehicle, it explodes, leaving him gravely injured. As soon as Omnicorp learns about this, they summon Clara to their headquarters and make an offer. They'll give Alex a completely new artificial body so he may continue living. Clara is hesitant, but then they reveal in graphic detail all of Alex's wounds, pointing out that if Clara does not make her decision immediately, Alex will die shortly. Clara has no choice but to accept. 3 months later, Alex is cheerfully seen dancing with his wife at a house party, but the image begins to crumble. The scientists unveil Alex's new body, which is 90% mechanical parts, but his brain is still human, so he's slowly going through his memories. Alex is puzzled and upset when they eventually wake him up, so Norton swiftly reminds him of what happened and accompanies him through his first steps. However, the body feels strange, and when Alex hears the word amputee, he freaks out and demands that the suit be removed. When Norton attempts to calm him down, Alex forcefully pushes him away before fleeing the building, pushing everyone who attempts to stop him. His running pace is incredible, and when he comes across the wall that surrounds the structure, he can jump over it without breaking a sweat. When he starts running again, Norton decides to remotely shut him off. A few moments later, Alex awakens at the lab once more, and Norton removes the primary sections of the robotic body to show Alex that only a few organic elements of him remain. So there's no getting away from this. Norton claims it is the only way to save him, but Alex believes death is preferable to a machine and urges the doctor to cut the connection. Norton changes his mind by saying that Clara requested the treatment and that his family is expecting him, so he should do it for her. To demonstrate this, Norton allows Alex to phone Clara. However, Alex only shows her his face for the time being. Clara believes he's still quite attractive and can't wait to see him again, now that Alex has agreed to comply. He spends the night at the lab, where his body is serviced. The next day, he's taken to train with Rick, the military officer in charge of Omnicorp's robotic army in the field. He believes that the machines are already perfect, and that include a human in the project is a waste of time and resources. Yet he nonetheless gives Alex with weapons that he can store in his special leg compartments. They send Alex and a robot through a simulation in which they must murder criminals and rescue civilians. And as everyone rushes around executing the rescues with little difficulty, Rick's predictions come true. Alex ends up being slower than the machines because the computers simply evaluate and act, whereas Alex pauses between evaluation and acting. When Alex is alone later in the evening, he uses a computer to keep track of what's going on with the gang leader case. The next day, Sellers is dissatisfied with the simulation findings and orders Norton to remedy the problem. He also believes Alex should look better on film for marketing purposes, so he requests a better tactical suit. Later in the lab, the doctor opens Alex's head and modifies his brain, giving him the illusion that he still has free will, but the machine is the one acting. Alex is also given a facelift, and his armor is now black and shiny. They then take Alex to an abandoned building for a fresh test, this time pitting him against Rick and an army of robots on his own. Alex swiftly analyzes the situation and takes action, shooting at every single robot without hesitation, using his visor to scan the surroundings and having exceptional reflexes. When he's shot at, he's also quick to find cover and hide, so he never gets wounded. All of the robots fall one by one until only Rick remains, at which point Alex shoots at his exoskeleton armor to win. Because all of his reaction times are faultless and he never thinks the machine is making the selection, the experiment is deemed a success. Norton subsequently brings Alex home so he may finally see his folks. He's a little anxious and needs a moment to gather his courage, but as soon as Clara sees him, she rushes up to hug him. David is apprehensive at first, but after Alex lets him touch the cool mechanical bits, David says he's glad to see him and that he's been recording some games for the two of them to watch. Unfortunately, Alex is unable to stay because he is required to spend the night in the lab for maintenance. When Alex goes to the base, he sees his best friend, who has finally healed, and he swears to find those who have wronged him. A few days later, Sellers is eager to unveil Alex to the population in a large public event, so Norton begins downloading all crime and criminal information dating back to 2011. Alex also gains access to all of the city's security cameras. The information is too much for a human brain to absorb. And when Alex watches the video of his car exploding, he has a seizure and goes out. Norton is opposed to holding a press conference today, but the Omnicorp team forces Norton to do so. Norton has no choice except to send everyone out except his assistant and block Alex's emotions, forcing him to act like an actual heartless robot. They can now easily finish downloading the entire database. When they arrive at the presentation, Alex is focused on his job and ignores his wife and friends, only seeing faces as criminals or citizens rather than loved ones. Once on stage, his scanner continues detecting all the faces in the crowd until he comes across a criminal 2 steps ahead of the cops. He immediately leaps into the mob and captures the criminal in seconds without injuring anyone, causing the crowd to admire Alex. On TV, Novik uses this incident to imply robots are superior because the cops were standing next to a criminal and didn't notice. Clara, on the other hand, is really furious because they won't let her or David talk to Alex, and they won't even let him have a life. Norton assures her that this is merely a side effect of the medication and that he will recover quickly. The next day, Alex goes to the station and declares that he will apprehend 13 offenders today. Ignoring his friend's concerns, he hops on a bike and uses his database and cameras to locate a gang of dealers. The majority of the group flees, but Alex manages to apprehend a dealer and threatens him until he exposes the location of his center of operations. Alex arrives at an illegal kitchen and enters the building while still riding his bike, shooting at every criminal and unconcerned about conventional bullets heading his way. Even if they try to attack him from behind, Alex's scan discovers them and quickly dispatches them. People at Omnicorp are pleased with the results, and Sellers offers Rick complete access to Alex in case anything goes wrong. As time passes, Alex emerges as a city hero, stopping crime at every turn. Novik makes a huge issue out of it, inviting Sellers to his show to explain to the senator that the American people are gradually altering their minds. When the senator attempts to complain, he is simply cut off. Meanwhile, the corrupt cops meet with the gang boss to devise a strategy for dealing with Alex, who has been making their job difficult. Later, Clara risks rushing through traffic to finally meet Alex and implore him to demonstrate emotion. She asks him to do something for his family because his son has night terrors and needs his father. Alex appears unmoved at first, but as he drives away, he begins approaching this as the robotic cop he is. He searches for security footage and discovers David witnessed the car explosion, which terrified him. Learning this about his son deeply irritates Alex's humanity, and his brain slowly begins reversing Norton's process of removing his emotions. He's enraged that his family has been suffering as a result of him, and he plans to repair it. People at the lab observe the change through Alex's tracker and consider shutting him off, but Norton wants to see what happens because Alex is still solving a crime, even if it is his own. Alex returns home and, using information from all of the cameras, recreates the day of the attack, seeing his wife and son the moment he detonated. He goes in search of a man who worked with the gang leader, taking him out of the car through the window and breaking his hand. Alex steps on it to inflict additional pain on him, and the criminal gives him the phone number of the leader's chauffeur. He finds the exact location of the gang's base after triangulating the signal from his last call. While Alex is on his way there, cops in the station learn that he is out solving his own crime, and the gang leader is quickly told that Alex is on his trail. When Alex arrives to the base, the crooks are prepared to meet him in the dark with night vision goggles and heavy armament. Alex infiltrates the compound on his motorcycle and activates his night vision, sparking a shootout. Alex has no problem strolling through the base shooting everybody who gets in his path until no one is left alive, no matter how many criminals there are or how many times they shoot. This time, though, he suffers considerable injury in the process. Alex then turns on the power again and collects samples of all the fingerprints on the weapons, revealing which cops are dirty. Alex rushes to the police station to question the suspects and play incriminating video footage on all of the computers. One of the filthy cops tries to attack Alex, who shoots him in self-defense. The other guy is horrified and admits it was their boss who orchestrated everything, but Alex still shoots him. After that, Alex confronts her supervisor and attempts to get her to confess, but Rick cuts him off. Rick phones Sellers to tell him they can utilize this, and Novak quickly plasters the incident all over his show, proving that machines are superior to humans since they cannot be purchased. The next day, the government begins to vote in favor of introducing robots into local law enforcement. The program is interrupted, however, by Clara, who eventually goes to the press and informs everyone that she hasn't been permitted to see her husband and that no one from Omnicorp will answer her calls. Sellers is concerned that Clara's involvement will restore Alex's humanity and cause them to lose control of him, costing them the law. If they retire Alex, it will appear that their experiments aren't good enough. Therefore, they decide to kill him so that he will be remembered fondly as a tragic hero. Sellers contacts Norton to order him to do it, and when an enraged Norton refuses, Sellers buys him out by promising to sponsor his laboratory for the next 10 years. Norton agrees, but only if Sellers also compensates Alex's family. Sellers then instructs Rick to prepare his robots. While the legislation is being debated by the senators, Sellers meets with Clara and David and makes plans. They believe Alex is already dead. When Norton arrives at the lab, there are already soldiers there wanting to see Alex, so he flees as they open fire on him. Norton arrives first and presses a button that causes Sellers to believe Alex is dead. Alex, on the other hand, continues to awaken. Norton removed his transmitter, preventing anyone from accessing his vitals, and I'll never be able to turn Alex off again. Norton tells Alex about the entire strategy after Alex immediately shoots both troops, resolves to kill Sellers, rejecting Norton's attempts to dissuade him. Rick spots him riding his bike through the streets and warns Sellers, who was preparing to announce Alex's death on stream. His bodyguards whisk him, Clara, and David to the roof to await a rescue chopper. Meanwhile, Norton approaches the police and requests assistance from Alex's best friend. When Alex arrives at Omnicorp headquarters, it is surrounded by Rick's robots, as well as several guards. Alex knocks out a guard in a split second, forcing the others to submit, and then he rides his bike into the building and begins a gunfight with the other robots. The robots are significantly better armed and armored than regular criminals, so Alex has difficulty combating them. He is constantly hit by heavy gunshots, and when he tries to jump on a robot to halt it, he is just flung aside and becomes entangled beneath some rubble. Alex manages to free himself with a few rounds, but rushing away with a damaged leg makes him too slow, and the robots start shooting from behind. A police truck smashes into the building at that moment, and Alex's best friend walks in front of him, causing the robots to stop firing because cops are safe in the system. Further into the structure, Alex locates Rick and attempts to shoot him, but the system has classed Rick as non-threatening and will not allow Alex to hurt him. Rick has some fun shooting warning shots at Alex, and when he's about to shoot him for real, Alex's best friend appears and kills Rick first. Rick shoots him back before dying, so Alex goes to check on his friend. However, the wound is not deadly, and they only need to wait for the ambulance. The helicopter then flies away without picking up the group when Alex goes to the roof. Sellers is certain that Alex would not attack him because he has been trained to be non-threatening as well. But when he sees Alex resisting his program, Sellers threatens to kill Clara and David just in case. This is made worse by Alex's passion for his family, which causes him to override his program and shoot nonetheless, murdering Sellers as the man returns the shot. Alex collapses as his family comes to check on him, but he tells them that he is well. Norton later returns the prototype body to Alex and informs him that he may now spend time with his family. Meanwhile, television reporters reveal that the government is more certain that robots should not be allowed on the streets, and the rule is repealed, especially after Norton agrees to testify and admits that everything he did was wrong. Novik is enraged and rants in front of the camera, informing the world that the United States is still the best country on the planet.